أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Thank you, Master of Ceremonies. Brilliant conduct so far. I think you're trying to compete our lady yesterday, and I think she's going to win the prize. So get ready for the presentation. Her mentee is doing bit better. But thank you once again, Inter-African Committee, Gambia House, the entire Gambian community in Norway, and the entire Scandinavia. Like you said, we have physical audience here. We have a huge virtual audience. We appreciate you all. I want to say congratulations to my co-presenters, the Honorable Minister responsible for gender, Nene, and I'm rectifying you. She's not just the Minister of Women, she's the Minister of Gender, so she's also our Minister. Yeah. Can you share? And my brother Musa, who did a fantastic presentation on the importance of the diaspora, which we can never overemphasize. I am supposed to talk about the sustainability of diaspora investment in the Gambian economy. And you know, when you talk of diaspora, it reminded me of 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒏. So when I was taking my shower, I just went to YouTube and listened to Imigwe, you know. Like Yusuf would say, between Nyufa Neka Diku Nyufa, Buju Buju, the Nyunyibisi. He says Senegal, we say Gambia. So we will have to come home. So if you patriotic Gambians living abroad have organized this forum, I think it's a commendable move. I'm here to be the bad cop. After all the nice things shared here, I'm supposed to deal with investment in the economy, and my profession is economics, not politics, by the way. So I cannot but tell you what I think about the economy that you are expected to invest into. I think the statistics Mr. Kamara gave you are quite startling, and I believe those are the real numbers, or the numbers could even be bigger than that. And that's why I think our government, no matter how hard our government works to protect and support the diaspora, they should double it. You know, as they say in Mandinka, suose borinya wonya, foisa la busola, ka to Gambian coal men be bantala bankola, e ka kodo men kinan Gambia banko kan, wole siata tubabol ka kodo men ki ko ikamma ko menna anin condition kolembal. Woto natra Gambia laftan na economy eta nyato banko la fanko ay yiriwa woto mansakunda be kataku ke kan ka Gambia nol fasa be sembetuya men be bantala banko la inyanta la falale adu wo fasa ro fana nyanta tarlaje men be bantala banko la ilafte murundila na ye fero ke iniye nyoni ne ye tuje ye si ye do ke ye fanna fa ye banko na fa ni bina fan enil londo do sinay se do ko ke no menna ka Gambia la fanko yiri wandi ka nim banko la fanko yiri wata to man do bato modo ka finti pour kata bantala banko la kata ni ndiro la ibe sile la so konole adun jigita ko Gambian diaspora ni Gambia man sakunda ye bulodi nyola ye do ko ke to man do bato yiri wajama sina me ya lonko mangillama. The passion I've seen here with Ndei, Nene, Sirifo, and the entire team, I can see how passionate they are about the Gambia. So no Gambian at home can claim to be more patriotic than these people, because perhaps if I am in their comfort zone, I might not even think about Gambia. I don't know, maybe. But congratulations, and I salute you all for being so brave and courageous, knowing the amount of red tape back home, but you're still persisting, because you know home is where the heart is. Regarding investment into the economy, the fact is our Gambian economy is not doing well. Gambia la fanko bita kanyameng amanyafa adunimmo fale ronde faniale folalie so mbeto nyale folalie. What's happening with our economy is we are not a silo. We in a global economy, and there are macroeconomic challenges worldwide. That is the fact. But the unfortunate thing is Gambia always makes things harder for herself. With gross domestic product estimated at a growth rate of 4.3% for 2021, inflation pegged at 12% according to the statistics at the central bank website, monetary policy rate of 11%. Clearly, in the Gambia, we are staring into the abyss of negative real interest rates. And what that does for an economy is people will not be interested in saving. If you are not saving, you are not investing, because in our macroeconomic models, savings is equal to investment. So if the government wants that economy to grow, we need to do things that will bring down inflation so that we can have positive real interest rates and people can be motivated to invest into the economy. It is within the background of these really stark macroeconomic indicators that the Gambia government recently presented a revised budget that increased salaries by 30%. My analysis of this policy move was that this will only worsen an already chronic budget deficit, exacerbate our national debt situation that is already unsustainable as observed by both the IMF and the World Bank. Inflation is surely going to be worse in the Gambia because of the wage price spiral that started when a previous 50% increase in salaries was brought in by the same government. To his credit, the current finance minister, when he presented the revised budget, he said they are going to raise taxes, especially on fuel. What happens with fuel is if the price of fuel increases, it increases inflation across the board. The finance minister actually told us this, but they went ahead and did the salary increase still. And then came the most recent one for me is the spate of diplomatic appointments, which according to my sources is going to cost our budget $135 million just to post these diplomats to their various places of work. Do you think investors will be keen in bringing in their money into such an economy? In economics, our basic assumption is economic actors are rational people. They are not driven by emotion. They are rather driven by a profit motive. We have a current policy on foreign exchange deposits. You allowed people to save their money in dollars, but when they want to take out their dollars, you said, no, you're paying them in dollars. Is that fair? Is that going to encourage investors to come and bring in their money? Because the Gambia is supposed to have a liberalized capital account. These are our agreements with the Bretton Woods institutions. So you don't agree with somebody on paper, and then when it comes to implementation, you become erratic. That is not going to encourage investors, whether they're Gambian diasporans or other investors. I think the government needs to rethink policy. Having said that, in the same immigration mission Ndour says, Jom moy tukki way fula moy ñibisi. So kum ko jaral nga farlu si pare pour fulal ko. Despite all these challenges, you may want to take a risk and invest in your country. And I'm not going to discourage anybody from investing in the Gambian economy, because your investment is not only going to bring you expected profits, but it will also have other positive externalities in terms of its contribution towards the growth of the economy. And what happens with economic growth? If the economy grows, everybody's livelihood becomes better. If it shrinks, everybody becomes worse off. So we need as many investors as possible. And I think agriculture is one of those areas where there's so much potential that is untapped. It is supposedly a key priority for the Gambia government. If you look at the number of projects, the number of budget support coming in, the number of other project support, but we have not done too well in terms of improving the production methods, diversifying the kind of crops that we are growing and harvesting. So there needs to be some level of policy change. We've been having watermelon sorrow everywhere. Now Gambians are importing honey melon from Senegal. Why can't we grow it for ourselves? There are Gambians growing apples and strawberries in that country now. So the Nigerian author saying comes to bear, Olarotimi, the gods are not to blame. Gambians cannot blame God for our macroeconomic situation. We can and we should do better. The good thing is we have the diaspora. It's not only those who are working and sending money, but we have diasporans in highly influential positions in the IMF, World Bank, International Fund for Agricultural Development, and other very important institutions that the government can network with. The problem with us, government officials, is that sometimes we feel we are too important when your salary is less than the fuel allowances of your counterpart Gambian at World Bank or IMF. So we need to do better in terms of partnering with our brothers and sisters. I think Senegal benefits a lot from international organizations because of the partnership between the Senegalese working in their government institutions and the Senegalese in international institutions. And I think Gambians should know better now. We cannot afford to give up on our country. Some have done it for more than 22 years and found out they have to come back. After 3 years of a honeymoon, some have withdrawn again, but we have a lot of Gambians who are not giving up, and those are the Gambians we should look up to. Those are the Gambians we should emulate, to know that whoever is in government today does not own that country. If anybody does not know that in theory, you think of Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, our founding father. He's not there. My own boss said he was going to stay for 1 billion years. He did less than 23 years. Barrow, I don't care how long he stays, he's gonna go one day, but the Gambia stays, and it is your Gambia, my Gambia. But more importantly, it's Sambo, that child's Gambia, that we need to support, we need to invest in, we need to promote, we need to correct, because there is no perfect government or country in this whole world. My favorite place of all, America, is still called an experiment in progress. So we cannot afford to give up on our country. There are policy slippages, very bad policy moves. But I think the diaspora, beyond being just skeptical, can be, I think, and this is what I recommend, policy advocacy. That's another kind of struggle where people can even buy their tickets and go to State House. Don't talk to the ministers, go to the president himself. Look, we think Ministry XYZ has this kind of policies. It's not good for the country. It's not even good for your presidency. Shall we have a dialogue? I believe Barrow will listen. I think he has that temperament. So with the diaspora having the resources, but also the technical know-how, I think we should be able to partner with the authorities on the ground in the Gambia to bring about the right policy and incentive mechanisms that we can use to tap existing funds and tap into the right brains to proffer a revolution in agriculture. We have tens of thousands of Gambians working in farms in Spain and other countries. But those same young people with the right policies and the right incentive mechanisms can be their own farmers in the Gambia and employ other Gambian youths. Because the benefit of traveling abroad is beyond just earning money. It's also about learning, about technology, about policies, but about, more importantly, our biggest problem in that country, attitude to work. So all those Gambians living abroad, for those who want to come back voluntarily, as well as those who would not have an alternative, but to have to pack up and come in, the government should make sure that there are policies and, I repeat, incentive mechanisms to make sure that when they come home, they can use their knowledge and experience to contribute positively towards national development. Gambians abroad need to support especially institutions like the National Agricultural Research Institute. Research is based on technology. If you don't have basic equipment to do biochemical research, how can you help advise your farmers? And in agriculture, to be honest, I think there's some level of retrogression. There were times as a child where I would sit under the mango tree in Lamin, Western region, and I'll listen to my parents listening to agricultural programs on Radio Gambia. How come we have these floods being so devastating? I mean, the only time I heard about the weather forecast was when the damage was done. I think we've had good practices in the past. Gambia is not in short of any good policy. We have good policies. What we need is an attitude in a revolution and a government that should be more responsive to the people that voted them into office and the same people who take out their money as taxes to fund the operations of that government, if not for any other person, if not for Mamadou Sabally, but the children and the women, especially of that country, deserve better and should get better. Government can't do it alone. We have hundreds of thousands of Gambians abroad. They are not enemies of the state. They are not enemies of any person sitting at State House. They want a better Gambia. So we should open up. If our change of government, if our change of dispensation into what I call so-called New Gambia is to bear any fruit, at least we should be able to sit across the table and talk to each other rather than turn away and keep talking about one another. That's not going to take us anywhere. I want to make reference to 𝒕𝒉𝒊𝒏, my sister, and what she said about the Gambia House and their intervention in terms of supporting rice growers, female rice growers. I think that's a fantastic initiative. I'll call it social entrepreneurship because I don't think you're looking for any high markups on that, high premium on that. I think it's a fantastic initiative, given the macroeconomic realities, to start somewhere where you can support Gambians at home without necessarily hurting yourself. I think the Honorable Minister was talking about organic farming, and I think it's a fantastic idea. These are things, we are not even reinventing the wheel. You know, organic farming has been here forever. In fact, Gambians are still trying to acquire that dangerous poison called urea fertilizer when the Tubabs are throwing it away. I studied in Atlanta, Georgia State University, by the way, and one of the most important, most valued stores there is Whole Foods. It's organic farming. And the good thing about organic farming is it has its inbuilt sustainability mechanisms, because we are destroying our soil. And talking of agriculture, the government of the Gambia should take care, should give special emphasis to environmental protection. We had more than 70,000 liters of heavy fuel oil poured in the very fragile mangrove environment around Lamin and Mendinari. That heavy fuel oil is still there, displacing the economic activities of vulnerable women who are just trying to get this yohos to sell to support their families. The pipes where that heavy fuel oil is leaking from is still there. Gambia is a very beautiful country, fertile. We have good soil, we have good water. We cannot take it for granted. We must protect that and preserve it. And the best way to do that is for Gambians themselves. It hurts me when I hear government, any problem that has to be solved through a project. You think these Tubabs are altruistic in everything they do? They have their interests, and if they push for their interests, should we blame them? No, it's their money. So they have their own policies and their own agenda. But we have a diaspora that has the resources, that has the technical know-how, that has the network, that influence can be used to support our country. If we cannot grow further, at least we should be able to protect that environment, that natural heritage for Sambu and the other young people to be able to harness, so that we live better lives as is fitting for any human being in the year 2022. So I'm going to re-emphasize the need for policy advocacy in a very positive way, so that we build a better country towards the common good. And I end with using those lyrics, Santa Nanulen.